Resuming debate, the Honourable Member for Pierrefonds-Dollard. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. This is the second time today that the NDP has raised the issue of old age security. A few weeks ago, we raised the issue because the government was creating confusion about how the OAS would be dealt with. The government refused to answer our questions, and this is why the NDP has decided to present an opposition motion today, because the government wants to cut costs on the backs of seniors. This is the second time we have had an opposition motion and debate on the same issue, because the government has confirmed the fears of many Canadians. It has indicated that the age of eligibility will be raised gradually from 65 to 67. As the official opposition, we are opposed to this change that has been proposed in the Conservatives' budget. Madam Speaker, some time back, I took part in a consultation tour of Quebec. I traveled around the province and I met with people who expressed their concerns, and I want to relay them to you. People said, what will happen to our private pensions? This was one of the fears raised, and it is very understandable. There is a lot of doubt about what will happen to private pensions if the age of eligibility for the OAS is raised. There is certainly a difference between the old age security and the private pensions that are from the workplace. The calculations that employers make with private pension plans are in keeping with the notion that people will be receiving their OAS at 65, and they adjust the amount of the private pension plan as a function of the benefits that will be received by people from the OAS. So if people will not be getting their OAS as soon as they expect, they wonder whether there will be a gap. They may be receiving less pension and not yet eligible for OAS. And this is something that we still don't have a clear answer to from the Conservatives. Another question was when the Prime Minister might be retiring. I can't answer that. Another question was about reforms to the old age security and how this will be implemented. People feel that this is a direct attack on the most vulnerable people, the people who are most at risk of becoming poor. Why is the government concentrating on raising the age of eligibility in this way? We don't have an answer to that. It seems like the government has decided they have to cut somewhere, but why here? There has been no discussion or consultation by the government, and unfortunately, this is another question that we can't answer because the government has not provided us with any information. In any case, what is clear is that old age security does not need to be reduced. I think that this is an important issue because basically this is not something that needs to be done, regardless of how they decide to do it. Another question was from somebody who wanted to work longer but was required to retire at the age of 60 or 65 because the employer felt that the costs were too high and so on. So this is another concern. Even if we required people to work longer, not everyone is able to do that. For example, when people do heavy physical work after the age of 55, people are no longer able to do it. Even if the OAS does not kick in until later, people can't necessarily work longer. Those who may be able to or want to work longer may not be able to because employers may decide to replace them with younger workers. So there may be a solution If we want people to work longer, why not provide incentives to employers to keep their workers longer? That would be a good way of dealing with this problem. We could also help people who work after the age of 65 or even longer. If we encourage people to work longer, we could make sure that they don't have any penalties when they receive the OAS later. We don't have to twist anyone's arm, and in any case, that won't help. If people who want to work beyond the age of 55, 60, or 65, sometimes they are not able to. We have to encourage employers to keep their employees longer. I was also asked how people might be able to prepare, because the government is not giving people the time they need and the ability to prepare for retirement. How can I do that? There are ways of preparing for retirement, but not everyone can take advantage of them. Right now, people who work full-time at minimum wage are below the poverty line. Will that person be able to put $50 or $75 a month more aside to prepare for retirement? No. Even if there is 20 years of warning, there will not be any better preparation, and these people will be in poverty. Something else I would like to raise, Madam Speaker, is that these concerns and these unanswered questions show that raising the age of eligibility will have a major impact, and this is a direct attack on the middle class and on those who are most at risk of being poor. The government has not shown us that it is necessary to cut the old age security. All the experts are saying that the old age security program is viable. The colleague across the floor has said that the math was pretty simple, but in fact, the common sense, or this pretty simple math, does not stand up to the analysis done by the chief actuary of Canada. The OECD has also studied pensions around the world. Universities have done research on this, and all these experts are saying that our program is viable. So pretty simple math does not really present a good argument against the advice of all of these experts who are saying that the OAS is a stable and a viable system. We have time now to prepare for the increase in the number of retirees. We have seen this change coming. We know that people are living longer, and the actuaries are taking these changes into account. So this simple math does not stand up against these expert arguments. Since the Conservatives' intentions are not clear, we don't know whether raising the eligibility age from 65 to 67 will actually meet any objective. We don't know whether the expected and hoped for impact will actually be produced. We don't have any figures, any evidence to show how much the government will be saving and whether this will make the system viable. So we really have the impression that the government is improvising and saying we have to cut somewhere, we'll cut here, but why they are doing this, we really don't know. So it is ridiculous to see that the government is cutting a program in a country that is in one of the best positions of any country to deal with poverty among seniors. The NDP, therefore, I will say in conclusion, feels that it is not necessary to cut the old age security program, and there is a lot that we could do in other ways to help seniors.
Member for Dauphin, Swan River, Marquette.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And quite frankly, our intentions are very clear. Our intentions are to save Canada's pension plan for the foreseeable future. And it's interesting to hear my colleague opposite, indeed the NDP. The common refrain is, there's always lots of money, and that's all we spend. That's their solution to everything. Now, she talked about experts. Let me quote a real expert. David Dodge, the former governor of the Bank of Canada, said this, quote, "We're at least 15 years late in getting started in raising that age of entitlement for CPP and OAS, and the normal expectation as to how long people would work in the private sector with private sector pension plans. That's absolutely clear, and because labour participation rates will start to fall later this decade, we're up against the wall." So, Madam Speaker, this is not a partisan comment. This is not a conservative pundit. This is the former governor of the Bank of Canada, actually appointed by the previous government, I might add, who's saying, look, we're actually late in moving on this issue, and we need to do something now. Would the member comment on the comments of the former governor of the Bank of Canada?
The honourable member for Pierrefonds-Dollard. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm pleased that the Conservatives are finally citing an expert to justify their cuts to the OAS. He's citing the former governor of the Bank of Canada. But in my opinion, that opinion does not have the same weight as the calculations by the Chief Actuary of Canada. I'm sorry, but if you don't have any confidence in the Government of Canada's non-partisan experts, I don't know why you don't just cut their positions and do what you want. We know that the population is aging. This is a temporary situation. Instead of saying that we are going to have more seniors, we're going to help them and protect them, the government is saying we will have more seniors, so we will cut their programs. Cutting this type of program will not save money because poverty, it has been shown, has an impact on crime, on the living conditions of people. This is just an offloading of financial responsibility to the provinces. It will not really save money, as the government is saying. The government is saying there is a lot of money here for OAS. We want it for other things. Questions and comments. The honourable member for Saint-Laurent-Cartierville. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to say that I really appreciated my colleague's remarks. She's in the neighbouring riding to me. And my question is for my colleague, but I'm looking across the floor at the colleague that just asked a question.
To this quote of the OECD about Canada increasing pension age. There is no pressing financial or fiscal need to increase pension ages in the foreseeable future. Is the OECD wrong or right?
The honourable member for Pierrefonds-Dollard. You have about 1.5 minutes. Thank you, Madam Speaker. According to our colleagues' pretty simple math, maybe the OECD is all wrong. But even if old age security will cost the government more over the coming years, we agree on that, but the studies by the OECD and other experts say that we can handle these extra costs. If the government spends elsewhere, then maybe we won't have the money we need for these programs and other programs. But the government is making a choice. This is not something it has to do. Is the government choosing to cut on the backs of seniors in order to spend elsewhere? The government is presenting these cuts as something it has to do, but that is not the case. We have a viable program. This is not my opinion. This is not just simple math or common sense. This is what the experts are saying. We need to make sure that our seniors have a good quality of life, and we need to cut elsewhere.